when I came to, at first I felt a little disoriented, and I realized that I'm like kind of on the back wall of the room, observing a scene. And when I realized that the scene I'm observing, the person I'm looking at is me, it's my lifeless body. I panicked. Like there was a sense of panic, but it lasted a split second, because as soon as I felt the panic, as soon it was lifted off me, I was removed from the scene. Emotionally removed, not like in the physical sense. I was still looking at it from the same distance. Um, and I understood that everything's okay. I'm okay. Like there's okay, yeah, that's the physical vehicle that I've been in. But me as a person, as a spirit, I'm okay. I'm always okay.
Hello, thank you for tuning in. My name is NELLA, and welcome to my podcast, Ethereality. Today we're hearing from Ulla Gaudin. Before her near-death experience, she had a very toxic narrative about her self-image, self-worth, but dying really puts things in perspective. Thank you so much, Ulla, for being here. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about your near-death experience?
Hi, I had my near-death experience roughly 30 years ago. I was at the time in a really abusive relationship with my boyfriend. That relationship had started when I was 16 years old. And the way I grew up, I learned that I was not valuable for love because of the shape of my body. As ridiculous as that sounds, but that's what I learned growing up. So, of course, I was searching for a relationship where just anybody would love me and get in the relationship, because all my friends, as you know, as a teenager, had boyfriends and the guy friends had girlfriends, and I was the only one who didn't have a relationship. So, with my mindset, I ended up in a relationship where I was abused weekly, many weeks, daily. I had also developed a stomach cancer when I was 21, and I was given 2 years to live. And at the time, I didn't understand how could possibly a healthy 21-year-old get a stomach cancer. Now, coming back, I understand that it was caused by all this negativity, stress, anxiety, and my ex-boyfriend beating me in the stomach. It was just like, hello, it's a big red flag right there, that all that bad energy that I allowed to accumulate in my stomach area, it created a tumor. I was in this relationship for years. He had a habit of drinking a lot. One night he came home from night out with his friends. I was sleeping. I wake up to him sitting on top of my legs and beating my stomach with both of his fists. At this point, I had learned to take it like a champ. Completely ridiculous thing to say now that I look back at it. I had learned to take it like a champ. Okay, it's going to end. He's going to do his thing. It's going to be over. And the next morning, he's not going to remember it, and we move on. That was the routine. Well, this time there was something different about him. He looked different, like there was evil in his eyes. And the last thing I remember is him strangling me and sticking his teeth on my left eyebrow. That was it. I blacked out. I have no idea how we got to the hospital. But when I came to, at first I felt a little disoriented, and I realized that I kind of on the back wall of the room, observing a scene. And when I realized that the scene I'm observing, the person I'm looking at, is me, it's my lifeless body, I panicked. Like there was a sense of panic, but it lasted a split second, because as soon as I felt the panic, it was lifted off me. I was removed from the scene, emotionally removed. In the physical sense, I was still looking at it from the same distance. And I understood that everything's okay. I'm okay. Yeah, that's the physical vehicle that I've been in. But me as a person, as a spirit, I'm okay. I'm always okay. And it doesn't matter what I'm looking at. There's insane amount of love for everything and everyone involved. And I could hear everyone talking in the room. I could hear my ex-boyfriend in the next room yelling at the people that it's not his fault. And I could not only hear everything, but I could feel everything. I could feel how frustrated some doctors were and how there was just not necessarily panic. I don't know how to describe how a doctor, when they are really in it trying to save somebody's life, it's not necessarily panic. I can't think of a word what it is.
Maybe like flustered, frenzied.
Yes, I like frenzied.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Frenzied.
So,
Okay.
yes, I could feel how frenzied the doctors were. But at the same time, I could feel how alive everything was. I could feel how alive the trees outside the hospital were. This was in the middle of winter in Finland, so they are frozen. They're supposedly dead. But I could feel how alive they are. And it just felt so expansive and so peaceful and absolutely amazing. It was a feeling that I hadn't felt in years, if not decades. It's probably a feeling that I felt when I was very little. And then through my experiences as a child, as a young adult, I pushed all that aside, thinking that I can't achieve that. So here I was with this really, really big emotion of love, looking at the scene where I am being revived. I realized that my grandparents had walked behind me, and I had this most beautiful hug embrace with them. I was so excited. I was so excited that they were there. There was no thinking that, hey, how am I with you? And how am I not there anymore? None of that. It didn't even cross my mind. It didn't matter because it was all one. Yes, everything happens right here, right now, with all of us. It's your dearly departed, or whether it's the living people that you're with. We're all here right now, and you can feel that embrace from your grandparents who've been dead for 20 years. There was this sense of celebration that I got to be with my grandparents again. And they told me that I have a choice to make. And it's my choice, nobody else's choice. Nobody is going to try to influence me. It's my choice. I can stay with them or I can come back. Observing all this, I could feel that there were other people, spirits. I think spirits is a better word than people, also around me. They are giving me all this information that I can use to base my decision on whether I want to stay there or whether I want to come back. Well, clearly I decided to come back. I'm here talking to you. So I was looking at this scene and chatting with my grandparents, these other people who joined me, and I knew that I knew them, but I did not put a name on any of them. My grandparents were like the only ones that I was like, okay, these are the people that I knew while they were here. Everything felt so peaceful compared to what I had been living. So, of course, there was a conflict of, well, if I can have this feeling and it's permanent, then nobody's going to take this away from me. Why would I go back to what was? Because it's silly to say, but dying is really peaceful and it feels so freaking good.
Yeah, it sounds like a great time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'm in no hurry, honestly.
Right.
I'm very excited to live out the
Mm-hmm.
rest of my life in purpose, but I do see it as one of the greatest opportunities, a blessing that each one of us gets to experience. Some people don't even have to experience the physical part of the dying. It's their time and they get out of their body and they aren't
Mm-hmm.
suffering, even though the body kind of is, but they're not. It's very
Yes.
strange to think about, but at the same time, it's a grace, it's
It
a grace of
is.
God. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that it can be a very pleasant and positive thing.
Since coming back, I have decided that the rest of my life here, which I'm very excited about, it's going to be happy, healthy, happy, healthy, happy, healthy, dead. That's it. I'm just going to be done. All the happiness and healthiness is done, I'm just going to go. I don't have to suffer anymore, ever.
At any point, did you regret coming back to your body?
I did. The first year was very hard because everything felt really big, like feeling emotions. They were giant compared to what I had felt before. There was a lot of grief that I felt, not from me, but from other people. For example, I lived in a little duplex. So there was a neighbor right on the other side of the wall, not close. We were just neighbors. I didn't really know her, but she had broken up with her boyfriend and she's crying in her bedroom, not loud or anything, but I can feel her grief. So that was like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do when I'm picking up all these emotions from people? And there's a lot of suffering in this world. And it felt too big for me to handle. So, yes, there was a lot of times when I was like, I don't want to do this. Why would I choose to come back here and feel all this? Until I learned how to protect my energetic space, how to guide my own energetic being, latch on to feelings that felt good, that felt expansive. So, yes, I could feel the grass being elated for the sun. I could feel little poppies, how excited they are for life. I could feel women who had just gotten pregnant and didn't even necessarily know it yet that they're pregnant. I could feel that spirit in them. That is what kept me going and has kept me going. And I still do that. I still find those emotions that feel really good around me and I focus on those.
Is that how you've learned to, as you had said, protect yourself energetically by just
Mhm.
tapping into the feelings that were good and expansive?
Yes, that's one of the things that I have done too.
What else have you learned as a method to protect your energetic experience?
I love meditation. It is my absolute favorite go-to. So I meditate every single morning. The time that I do it, it differs, but I usually don't go more than 20 minutes. God doesn't want us to be in meditation. God wants us to live our life and not to stay in the meditative state. But the meditation has helped me to really refocus all my energy in me first and anchor myself with my higher self, with God, so that I can be the best version of me for everybody else on this planet. And also, it allows me to be this channel of everything good, not just for me, but for everybody that I come in contact with.
I actually just recently started meditating again, just
Mm.
for like 5 minutes. I'm starting
Yeah.
with a more attainable goal,
Yes.
but I'm excited to start this journey again. I felt like we may have missed a point a second ago. I was curious, did you tell me exactly what it was that made you decide to come back to your body?
I did not. So I made a decision to come back because I knew I could see in this tapestry of universe, because you can experience and see that when you're dead.
What do you mean by tapestry of the universe?
We are all connected. Everything is connected. Everything is energy. Everything is moving in perfect harmony at all times. And I like to call it tapestry because everything is so finely woven
Okay.
together.
Hmm.
And you can take detours to experience different things and change your mind and go back. But everything always, 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 it's a perfect fit, always. And I'm getting chills. Now I know that this is coming from the spirit. This is not me.
You mentioned the tapestry. You were able to see it, and
Mhm.
that was contributing to your decision to come back.
So yes, I knew that I had to come back because I was shown the tapestry of the universe and how I fit in there, how everything fits in there so perfectly, and how much I still had to experience, and how much there was still left for me to do in my physical body, and what things I could accomplish, and how I could help other people to understand that their lives really matter.
So you had a sense of purpose returning then.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
What were your spiritual or religious beliefs before this happened versus
I,
after?
well, growing up in Finland, it's not a very religious country. We learned religion, Lutheran being the main one in Finland. We learned that in school, and we have communion at 14 years old. It's kind of like, okay, you have to do this, but people don't really go to church. My beliefs were not necessarily in any religion. I wasn't religious by any means. I kind of had this feeling that we're just here kind of floating around without any purpose. And some of us are meant to be punching bags for other people, right? I know it's sad, but
Literally.
yeah. So it's a little sad to think that you're so alone. Of course, now it's like so not alone ever. We are highly connected to the divine God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. It is that one higher power that we all have, and we're all connected to that. And through that, we are all connected to each other. And it has helped me see how incredibly beautiful every single life is. And I just hope that people would realize that they matter. Because there's still so many people who think that they're alone. They are the floating punching bags that I once was. Another thing that helped me realize that we don't lose anyone ever. When our family friends pass on, they are still here with us very, very strongly. But we have blocked them. They're always there. They're always like knocking at your door that, hey, I'm here, I'm here. We are the ones who have blocked them from talking to us.
When you got back into your body, I'm so curious, what was running through your mind? Like, did you remember the experience as
Oh,
soon
I
as you
yes. Oh, yes.
re-entered your
Oh,
body?
yes. I tried to sit up. I tried to sit up. I remember them pushing me down, like from my shoulders. Okay. Not only were they surprised that I'm all of a sudden, I'm just like, but immediately I was just ready to go. I was like, okay, I need to go home. I have things to do.
I have a purpose now.
I have a purpose now,
I
and I gotta go. I'm busy.
love that.
I mean, it's the fact that I had cancer and the fact that I had been clinically dead for 20 minutes. That was slightly concerning for the doctors. I ended up staying in the hospital for about a week until I was released. It's because I knew immediately the cancer's gone. It's just gone. There's not going to be any traces of it. And the doctors, they had to take tests, and then within 24 hours, it was completely gone, or there was just very, very slight traces of cancerous cells on my body. And they're like, no, there's something wrong with this test. It's not, no, that doesn't happen. It just doesn't work that way. And I'm like, yeah, it does. I gotta go.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you try to tell anybody about your experience on the other side?
I did. I did. And I was shut down very fast by many people. And unfortunately, the people closest to me, my mom and some other very close people, I mean, they were just like, oh no, we just don't talk about this. No, 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 that didn't happen. It was your mind playing tricks on you. And I'm like, no, no, it wasn't. And so I didn't. That's why it's been 30 years. I'm just now starting to share my story because I learned that people don't want to hear about this. That's what I was told. So I was like, huh, okay, well, I'm just going to use this for my advantage then. And without speaking any words, I am going to make people feel good about themselves.
Did you ever doubt the validity of your experience because of
No,
how people were like naysayers about it?
no. I mean, it was more real than what we feel like is real here. So, no, there was no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I've heard that explained by almost every person I've interviewed is that this, where we are currently consciously
Mm-hmm.
operating, feels more like a dream than when we're on the other side. It feels
Oh,
like
yeah.
that
Yeah.
is real life.
Yeah. This is just some show projected on the screen that we play part on.
Was
And,
it hard for you to not have anyone that you could talk to about it?
it's not necessarily, because I have my dearly departed that I can talk to. So that really helped me. My grandmother, which is funny that it's my mother's mother, my mom, who told me that no, don't talk about this. It's her mother who was there next to me. And then she's the one who's telling me, like, oh no, you're good, you're good. You know that this, I was here, we did this. And just give your mother grace. She'll come around. I mean, she did. It's been 30 years, but she finally came around. So
Interesting. You said daily departed. What does that mean to you?
we can come in and out of these realities, or this reality. This is just one reality. There's more than one. And we can come in and out of these. When we're not in this human body, we can come in and out of these. We can come in and stay here a little bit longer. So you depart daily, sometimes hourly.
I'm not sure I'm understanding. You're saying that we have multiple realities you can pop in and out of at any time.
Yes.
The first thing I thought of was like parallel dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of what you're referring to?
Yes. Yes.
Is that similar to what people say when they're jumping timelines, or is that
It
different?
it's it's basically because time as we understand it doesn't exist. So you can jump in any reality, any timeline, basically at any time. How we operate as human beings here on this timeline or reality, whatever you want to call it, it's easier for us to function as a humans when we have this certain type of timeline and how we understand time.
The linear, yeah, versus the non-linear.
Yeah.
Have you gone to a different reality or
I
parallel
haven't
dimension?
I haven't had desire to do that. I know I could if I wanted to, but I am too focused on this particular life right now because I enjoy it so much. So I haven't had a need or desire to jump anywhere else.
If you're getting any value out of this podcast, please hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you've enjoyed my content before, or maybe you're new here but you like it, drop a comment and let me know you're here. I would love to get to know my audience. Thank you for listening, and let's get back to the content. Side note, or maybe backtrack note. I know that before you had your near-death experience, you had some, I'm going to say, toxic narratives regarding your self-image, your narratives that you were navigating life with. When you came back, was there a certain reconditioning process? Was there time that it took for you to kind of restructure your approach to life? Or do you feel like you came back with the answers and just had an immediate change?
Well, the change wasn't immediate, but I did with my grandparents and all these beautiful spirits that were with me while I was on the other side. I was just filled with knowledge, and it was like my DNA was re-recorded and all the new data was input so that I could process that information internally, and then I could keep going and be comfortable in this vehicle that I'm in. But yeah, it's because of all the emotional, I don't want to say detachment, because it wasn't detachment, it was more of like extreme attachment to all the emotions that I felt. It took a while for me to process the information, the data that was input in me.
You came back and you were able to communicate with your grandmother.
Mhm.
Had you always been able to communicate with spirits, or is that just after the experience?
I didn't know it at the time, but I've always had ability to communicate. I did not know that I was communicating with anyone, but ever since I was little, I would have these moments where I felt like I'm not here. I'm just observing things around me, but I am not here. It started when I was, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years old. Mostly it would happen at a department store in the toy section. Which I think now, looking back at it, it's like, okay, it was playful enough because I am a very joyful person and I love to play. So I think that was the spirit's way of communicating with me even back then, that, hey, this is play. You are here to play on this planet, and there's nothing serious going on. So I just had these feelings of I'm not here, and I felt very light and playful. And looking back at it, I know that I was communicating with my loved ones who were on the other side.
I love that point so much, that we're here to play. It reminds me, I interviewed Trisha Barker at one point, and she said when she got onto the other side, she realized how silly it was that she was taking life so seriously.
Yes.
And a lot of other near-death experience stories too. It's why so serious?
I
You
know
know?
there's really, really, really nothing serious going on. And I've had some pushback from talking about that to people who are taking the world events or national events here in the United States. They are taking it so seriously. And I'm like, I try to explain it that it's the more you focus on the problem, or what I like to call a question, the bigger the question is going to get. The more you focus on the solution, which is in your heart, the bigger and faster the solution is going to be.
Right. Yeah. And I do want to add, as like a little disclaimer, of course, there are circumstances that people navigate through that are extremely difficult to
Mm-hmm.
navigate. And I think that, there are things that require an element of conscious observation of it being a serious matter.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely a thing. I feel like the magnitude of our reaction to something is ultimately what determines the magnitude of the growth that we're going to experience from it. So I don't want to discount the magnitude and validity of very serious things that people endure,
Mm-mm.
but we are referring to the things that aren't serious that we take too
Yes.
seriously.
Yes, absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
also really like that you, instead of calling something a problem, you called it a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like to live by this narrative that who knows what's good or bad. I interviewed Lee Papa recently. She said she likes to call it contrast
Mm-hmm.
instead of good and bad,
Yeah.
because the things that are perceivably bad often turn out to be the best things for us in the long run. Sometimes things that we perceive to be really good end up being very, very damaging to us, which then we perceive it to be bad. But then the damage teaches us lessons, and then we perceive it to be good. So
Yep.
all of judgment in that avenue ultimately changes.
Mm-hmm.
So to attach judgment to something is a kind of a futile effort, I'd like to say. So, in the way that you brought that up, you said instead of calling it the problem, you call it the question. I very much align with that. I'd like to hear why you, instead of calling it a problem, prefer to call it a question.
I like to say that because we think it's so serious, we call it a problem because it's so serious and I have to get really serious and I have to do something about it right now. Whereas if you say that it's a question, there is a difference in energy in question and solution. Problem or solution. Problem is too heavy. It is too serious. But when there is a question, every single problem is a question that you are asking as a spirit and a spiritual being. It's how do I navigate this? What is this? Where is this going? And where am I going with this? Rather than my husband cheated on me. Now you can go, oh, I didn't see this coming. Where am I going to go with this? Yes, it's going to feel heavy. I don't discount emotions ever. And you're supposed to feel every single emotion. And that's how you heal, when you allow your being feel those feels and move through it. And you consciously decide what the ending is. That's where you heal. So your question can be very, very heavy. A friend of mine losing a child, there's no answer to that solution, especially when you are right there in the middle of it. And the grieving process, she could have easily go and jump in the deep end, but she was able to walk through it with grace and understanding that we all have to go at some point. And this is not easy, but I can choose what the ending looks like. I can be dead at this end, and then my other children are going to be motherless, and how are they going to understand this? Or the solution can be that I will build myself so strong that I can be here for my other children.
That's beautiful. I like to frame problems as opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that when something doesn't go according to plan, it is there to teach you something. If we can wrap each obstacle, each problem, each question in an understanding that this is here to serve you in a way, that this is going to ultimately make you a better person or give you tools that you need to help somebody else, to make an impact, to find your purpose. If we can wrap all of the things that are uncomfortable in that understanding, it makes enduring the discomfort worth it.
Yes, and it also helps you move through it faster. Because when you allow your feeling to flow through, it will pass faster and you get to the end feeling much more energized and clearer rather than if you're trying to bottle these emotions in and like be somebody else. I'm not supposed to do this because XYZ says that you're not supposed to feel this and you're not supposed to do that. Let's take a water hose. If you pinch the hose, the water's not coming through. That's you holding on to all the crap and anger and resentment and whatever it is that the question has brought you. But when you release the pinch from the water hose, it flows through freely and it brings new water, new life to you very, very quickly. One thing that I just thought of was during the time I was on the other side that I learned was how unselfish we are versus how selfish we are supposed to be. Because we always think that we have to consider everybody else first, and then we take care of ourselves. Or that it's bad to be selfish and take time for myself so that I can show up as a better version of me. And it is just completely backwards. We are supposed to take care of ourselves first. Be selfish with your energy. Be selfish with your peace of mind and your rest. And I mean, all that is so, so super important. And that's what loving yourself is all about. It's not needy. It is something that we all have to have. We must have it.
Absolutely. You can't pour from an empty glass.
Mm-hmm. And especially the centering yourself. We live in such a busy world with information being blasted to us 24/7. If you don't put that phone down, turn that TV off, and actually focus on what's in here, all that nonsense becomes your life. And then you wonder why you are so lost.
Yes. I'm very grateful. I took a 6-month road trip.
Wow.
yeah, I put all my stuff in a storage unit, and me and my cat took off in a minivan, and we just explored the whole west coast of the United States in
Wow.
my van. And that was perceivably a selfish thing to do, right? I just completely left everything and was like, I need to go find my center somewhere out there in the universe.
I love that. Amazing. I'm like major chills.
Yeah, like it was something that my soul craved. It was an experience that I knew was for me, even though, sure, there was a lot of uncertainty. There was, in the beginning, some fear and discomfort. But overall, being selfish with my time, that ultimately led to, the cliche, I found myself. I really did. I feel like the more you choose yourself, the more you're capable of finding that center without making those little micro decisions that add up to that catalyst of finding yourself, finding that center. Without doing those things, how do you know what your baseline is? My life, ever since I had made that decision to take off on that road trip, has been 100% different. And not just like in what it looks like around me. Yes, that looks different, but it's what it looks like inside of me that's different. And that's where the impact lies.
Hmm. It is amazing how different you look at everything out here when you find the center in here. Like I said a minute ago about the phone and the TV and all that. I mean, that will absolutely take over and make you doubt yourself, and you don't even know who you are or where to start to look for that center. I've seen people where they are fidgety after 2 minutes when there is not something telling them what to look at, what to react to. And most people live in this reaction mode rather than responding to what is happening in their lives. And I love that what you said about the contrast. I like the word contrast too. Another word that I like to use is street signs or traffic signs. That when something that I didn't either expect or, although now I have to say it, everything that happens, yeah, at some level I did expect, because otherwise it wouldn't be there. But if it's something that is not aligned with where I am going, it is just like a one-way sign or dead end sign or a stop sign that makes me pause and rethink how I want to be in me, not how I want everybody else be out here and what I want them to do, because that will change. When I change in here, everything around me will change. But for a lot of people, they can't see that. They can't find the correlation between how I am showing up and what is going to be in front of me.
A lot of people are operating from trauma drive. They're running on fumes, basically,
Mm-hmm.
but they're so used to it that they don't realize that there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
If anyone doesn't know what trauma drive is, it's basically where trauma that you've endured has put you in a constant state of fight or flight. But the thing that's interesting about that is once they do recognize that and they do what they need to do to get selfish with their energy and start finding their center and start doing breathing exercises, putting their body in a parasympathetic state, that they experience trauma crash. After running on those fumes for so many years, it's so exhausting for our bodies, for our minds, our spirits. The second that we are in a safe space, the crash is real. Oh my goodness. I experienced it for 3 years, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe 2 years, 2, 3. And it was at the end of my trauma crash that I took off on my road trip and was like, I need to do something to
Yeah.
get out of this, because spending so many years running on those fumes, I think that
Mm-hmm.
recognizing the problem is the first step to solving it. and finding the tools to approach that problem. Oh, wait, problem, question.
The question? Yeah.
Recognizing
Yes.
the question is the first step to solving the question. Finding the proper tools to
Yes.
approach the question. And maybe, the right mentors, maybe the right podcast, maybe the right whatever it is that works for you, the right books.
Mhm.
Knowing that there is a way out, knowing that there is a better way to experience life in your body, I think that is something that we could all benefit from remembering. Because I think on some level, we all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But to hear it as a reminder, to hear it from people who have done it, I think that that is powerful and needed right now.
I think so too. Yeah. It's powerful even for me to hear other people who have had a near-death experience, how they experienced it. And even though I don't need the validation of somebody telling their story to have mine be more real, we are the human race. We like to congregate. We like to be together. We like to feel like somebody understands us. So it's always really, really amazing when you find like minded people and you can have like minded conversations.
Like-minded people are a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And the internet
Yes.
is a blessing too, because I get to talk to you.
Yes, I know. Yes, internet is whole life is a blessing. Everything you can find blessing in every single thing in your life.
Right. So I have one more question that I want to ask you before we wrap things up. If you were to consider your purpose in life and have a mission statement for it, or if there's something that you would love for anyone listening to come to learn or understand, what would that be?
Well, my mission statement is kind of silly. It's you do you, boo.
You do you, boo.
You do you, boo.
That's
And
cute. I like it. Live and let live.
it's yes, because there's 7 billion of us. There is 7 billion ways to do this life. You can't get it wrong. So be boldly and loudly you, and don't let anybody outside of you tell you that you're doing life wrong. If it doesn't feel good, you can change it. And you get to do it your way. You get to do you, boo.
I love that. I like it because it reminds me of our discussion about it not being so serious.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And to just remember to play.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that we are
Yeah.
here as divine creators and we get to just create and play with it. There's actually a song that I really like that says, let's reframe the word work. And instead, we passionately play,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's everything to me, especially because I have a creative job. But
I love
um,
that.
if you don't, we can still find little glimmers throughout the day, just to play.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because life doesn't stop coming at you. It's here to inspire us. And some of those inspirations come in a form of question. All of them always have an answer. But yeah, life doesn't, it just doesn't stop coming at you. Like people like you get to create all of this, but you have to have variations. You have to have variety to choose from. Yeah, how you react to it, how you process it, it's all up to you and you get to do it your way. Somebody recently told me that, well, you're just this magical unicorn while the rest of us have bills to pay. And I'm like, I still pay my bills. It's not like I just don't take it so seriously.
Yeah.
It's just because you are blissful and joyful and playful doesn't mean that you don't pay your bills. You do. You just look at it a little differently and you find joy in that too.
Yeah. It's a journey, though. It's
Mm-hmm.
a journey
Yeah.
to get to that point, but it's definitely a journey worth taking.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ulla, for taking time out of your day to have this conversation with me. It's been wonderful.
This was so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. If you loved this episode, please consider leaving a review. If you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so we don't lose each other. And to share the link with somebody who can appreciate this message. Blessings to you all, and I hope to catch you on my next episode.